Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribhadhari Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Prathamadava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribhadhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Prathamadava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatasha Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantara Shriman Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishiguru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Written from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 64, the Deliverance of King Nriga, Text 29 and 30. Namaste Sarvabhavaya Brahmane Nanta Shaktiye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Joganam Pataye Namaha Namaste Sarvabhavaya Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Yoganam Pataye Namaha Namaste Sarvabhavaya Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Yoganam Pataye Namaha. Please chant. Namaha, obeisances. Te, to you. Sarvabhavaya, the source of all beings. Brahmane, the supreme absolute truth. Ananta, unlimited. Shaktaye, the possessor of potencies. Krishnaya, to Krishna. Vasudevaya, the son of Vasudeva. Yoganam, of all process of yoga. Pataye, to the Lord. Namaha, obeisances. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I offer my repeated obeisances unto you, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. You are the source of all beings, the supreme absolute truth, the possessor of unlimited potencies, the master of all spiritual disciplines. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami comments that King Nriga here offered his obeisances to Brahman, that is, the absolute truth, who is unchanged in spite of performing activities. Since ancient times, Western philosophers have puzzled over the question of how God can be unchanging and yet perform activities. Sridhar Swami states that this doubt is answered here by the term Ananta Shaktaye, which describes the Lord as the possessor of unlimited potency. Thus, though the Lord's infinite potencies, thus, through the Lord's infinite potencies, He can perform innumerable activities without changing His essential nature. The king further offers his obeisances to Sri Krishna, the possessor of the form of eternal bliss and the supreme goal of life. The holy name of Krishna is analyzed in a verse from the Mahabharata, Udyogya Parva 71.4, which Srila Prabhupada quotes in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 9.30 purport. Shibir bhu vachaka sabdo naschani vritti vachaka tayor aikyam param brahma Krishna iti abhidiyate. The word Krish is the attractive feature of the Lord's existence, and na means a spiritual pleasure. When the verb Krish is added to na, it becomes Krishna, which indicates the absolute truth. King Nriga offers the above prayers and as he is about to leave the personal association of the Supreme Lord. Text number 30. Iti uktva tam parikramya padau spristva samaulina anugyato bimanagriam anujnato bimanagriam aruhat pashyatam nrinam. Translation. Having spoken thus, Maharaj Nriga circumambulated Lord Krishna and touched his crown to his lotus feet, to the Lord's feet, granted permission to depart. King Nriga then boarded a wonderful celestial airplane as all the people present looked on. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umiltam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhava Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So Srila Sukadev Goswami gives us entrance to the narration of this pastime of the arch, the devotional arch, or the arch that, that the path of devotion of Krinniga took, which is a very important um, example to understand quite deeply. And um, Krishna is very deliberate in one sense. We can appreciate that from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the facilities that Krishna gives to the spirit souls to actually become purify and in one sense train to go back home, back to Godhead. This is specifically for the purpose of bringing conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. So he presents all these different, very deliberate, in one sense, examples and situations that can help us, in one sense, understanding not only our nature, but also how to overcome the different sort of obstacles that are in general. They're the obstacles that we have to confront in the material world. We have to overcome to, again, come to the position of self-realization, of the realization of a spiritual nature and our eternal connection with Krishna. These obstacles they manifest different, all kinds of variations, but in general comes from the same general obstacles. The acharyas has break down in so many ways these obstacles, but in one sense, um, Srila Jiva Goswami, when he described the goal of life, Srila Rupa Goswami, when he described the definition of pure devotional service as the ultimate goal of life, then the, the definition of this pure devotional service is when it's devoid of these two things, which are the two big obstacles, karma and jnana. So pure devotional service is devoid of karma and jnana. Now, karma and jnana then expand into these different, things that we have to overcome. And they go from something very gross to something very subtle. But when you come to the most subtle ones that you have to free the obstacles, then you come to this karma and jnana. Karma is the desire to, this very deep connection of enjoying and controlling. It's about results. It's about your actions produces results, and your results producing sort of a desired type of to enjoy, to enjoy material nature, to control material nature. So this karma, becomes defined by so many different, it expands in so many different types of desires. it branches into so many different types of desires. And that so many different types of desires becomes what is called is Bahushaka Buddha. Bahushaka Buddha, or Buddhi, sorry, Bahushaka Buddhi means that is many branches. Your intelligence becomes completely spread into trying to sort of fulfill all these many different branches of these desires to enjoy. The 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 sort of essential part of this karma is this bhaktaram. Is just sorry. Is this what is the term that Krishna uses? Boga Aishwarya. Boga Aishwarya. Boga or Boga means the desire to enjoy, and Aishwarya is the desire to control. So, and then there's Jnana. So Jnana is the cultivation of transcendental knowledge. But when Jnana is devoid of bhakti, then the focus is on becoming free from material condition for the purpose of obtaining happiness. In other words, there's still a goal that is devoid of of connection with Krishna. It's more centered on becoming free from the sufferings of material existence. So my goal is not a devotional goal, but it's a goal of becoming liberated. So the goal of jnana is mukti. So it's a much more subtle and elevated too. That a jnani becomes a transcendentalist. A karmi is not a transcendentalist. A karmi is a materialist. So a jnani, considered a transcendentalist, can obtain liberation if he reaches that perfection. But because it's explained that if having take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then you fall down again. The famous Yeniera Vindaksha Vimuda Maninas Tvayas Tabhava Avishuddha Buddhaya Aruhyo Krichena Padam Padam Pada Padantiado Nadrita Jusman Angarjaha. Very soon you fall down from that position of imaginary superiority or perfection. So, so these two very subtle obstacles have to be overcome. And in this case, we see that in the narrations of the Bhagavatam, Krishna gives us entrance to all these different personalities who, although being absorbed or being sort of absorbed in these two, karma and jnana, how they become purified and connected with Krishna. This particular case is a case of karma, mishra, bhakti. Karma, mishra, bhakti. So Maharaj Nriga, he has some understanding and has some. It is explained that there is a mixed bhakti there. It is not pure. It is the purpose of his, or the goal of his activities of charity and piety, and that he did religiously, and very carefully was for the purpose of elevation to the heavenly planets. And indeed, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is explained what is the goal of these different uh, mixed devotional um, situations. You have Karma Mishra Bhakti, you have Jnana Mishra Bhakti, you have Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and you have a pure devotional service. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, no, I'm sorry, it's not the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is explained from Canto 10, 1 to 1. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto. Oh, I don't understand. There's some. Yes, here is 10, chapter 10, text 20 to 22. Is during the narrations of the two, the sons of the falling down, or the description of Nalakuvara and Managriva. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, he writes, by Karma Mishra Bhakti, one is elevated to celestial kingdom. So someone who practices this Karma Mishra Bhakti, he becomes elevated, but to the celestial kingdom, to the spirit, to the heavenly planets. And we see this in the case of Maharaj Nriga. Although he have audience of Krishna, he received the body of a demigod, or a celestial, body. And just as he finished, this darshan with Krishna, he stepped into a celestial vehicle, or transportation program, and then he goes. So the result of Karma Mishra Bhakti is elevation to the celestial kingdom. By Jnana Mishra Bhakti, one is able to merge into the Brahman effulgence. By Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one is able to realize the omnipotency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But pure bhakti does not depend on karma, jnana, or yoga, for it simply consists of loving affairs. So, the arch in which someone who has this mixed devotion, how by approaching the Lord, then becomes fully purified. It becomes fully purified. Prahlad Maharaj gives this prayer that the Lord is so kind. I have to look for it, but you may remember it. That the Lord is so kind and so generous that He accepts the devotion of everybody, and He overlooks the material part, or this, how you say, the selfish part. He overlooks that, and He just see the devotion, and then He fulfills the desires of the one who is approaching Him, with whatever desires one may approach Him. He fulfills those desires, but fulfills it in such a way that He gives His lotus feet. And then once He gives His lotus feet, then those desires becomes destroyed. And we see that in the case of very graphically in the pastime with Dhruva Maharaj, who approached Krishna with a desire to have a kingdom. And after having the darshan of Krishna, and Krishna giving along with that kingdom, his lotus feet, then Maharaj Dhruva, he was able to have the perfect realization that here I come, desiring for broken glasses, and I have received the most valuable diamond, which is the lotus feet of the Lord. So, what is the, then broken glasses, what am I going to do with that? It's disposable. So, it comes to that full realization. So, that same arch we see here in the past tense of King Nriga. When he started his prayers were tinged, as is described by Acharyas, with this I or mind. Remember when he prayed, like, I am so devoted to the Brahmanas, I this, that, and I was a devotee of yours. So it was the I and the mind was mixed with genuine devotion. So he was there, and now he have come to a full arch and have a perfect understanding when he's concluding his prayers to the Lord. And as he concludes the prayers to the Lord, he's able to realize and to describe the Supreme Lord perfectly, with perfect, beautiful prayers, with a very deep understanding of these different stages of realizing the Lord and how the Lord becomes available or accessible to different types of devotees. And it's very interesting how we have the commentaries on this verse from three acharyas, and they take it from a slight different perspective. The same prayers, how they analyze it. So I'm going to read that. So again, the prayers of Maharaj Niga is, I offer my repeated obeisances unto you, Krishna, the son of Vasudev. Sorry, the son of Vasudev. Sorry. You are the source of all beings, the supreme absolute truth, the possessor of unlimited potencies, the master of all spiritual disciplines. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he analyzes the verse as follows. Quote, I have a relationship as a servant to you, but you are the object of all types of love. I offer respects to you, within whom exists all bhavas or loving relationship. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur took it from this Rasika perspective, this prayer from the perspective of Maharaj Nriga coming to the understanding of Krishna as the Rasa Raj, the king of all rasas, and how he's able to have all these different relationships like that. So he sees himself as a servant, but actually he can appreciate how different devotees have different types of relationship with Krishna. It's not only as a servant. All bhavas or loving relationships. So then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explained, he first mentioned the Lord as the object of Shantabhava. So Shantabhava means the passive. The form of Brahman, Brahmane. So when he mentions Krishna as Brahmane, so the verse goes, Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. So Brahmane, that's the object of Shantaraj. He is the object, sorry, yeah. He is the object of Dasya Baba as the possessor of unlimited powers, Ananta Shaktaye. So someone now who is a servant or a servant of the Lord, he can see perfectly well, he can understand perfectly well the Lord's position. And the Lord's position is that he is the possessor. He can, and this is something that is explained in the purport, that quoting Sridhar Swami, that the Lord now, when you pass this Brahman effulgence or this impersonal Brahman, this energy, which is um, the type of reciprocation that is in Shanta Baba, then for Dasya Baba, the devotee understand that the Lord actually can perform so many wonderful activities and pastimes. But they have understanding that although the Lord performing all these different pastimes as a fish, as a tortoise, as a dwarf brahmana, as a man, in this human form, as Lord Ramachandra, the Lord always remain perfect and supreme, complete. So, and how is that possible? Because the Lord have this Ananta Shaktaye. So, the Dasya Bhava devotee, he have perfect understanding of the Lord position, and always see himself, always see the opulent Lord with that knowledge that is always there. Ananta Shaktaye, a form of grandeur. So there's always have this consciousness of the supreme position of the Lord. He is the object of Sakya Bhava as Krishna, who gives constant bliss, which is also the name of Arjuna, who had a similar name, formed qualities as Krishna, being treated equal to him. Smriti says, Krish means earth of existence and na bliss. He is the object of Vatsalya Bhava as Vasudev, the son of Vasudev. He is the object of Madhurya Bhava as the husband of those who have deep devotion, Yoganam Pataye, such as Rukmini. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti analyzes it like that. He breaks down the Sanskrit of this prayer as a glorification of Krishna as this rasa raj, these enjoyers of so many different rasas, loving devotions with the devotees, loving relationship with the devotees. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami has a different, takes a slight different approach. He analyzes verses in this way. Quote, in that case, stay here, end of quote. I offer respects to you. You are the source of everything, but without change, since you have unlimited powers of Maya. You are the shelter of all beings, the material source of everything. You have an eternal font of bliss, Krishnaya. You give result for all actions, Yoganan Prataye. Or, is another possibility, or understanding, sorry. Or, I can go only by inspired by you. Sorry, I can go only by being inspired by you. What can I do by my own powers. Showing how Krishna is the inspirer of all beings, he described his powers. You cause everyone's actions since you are spread internally and external, Brahmane. But the jivas move by their own will. That is clearly seen. You are the source of their powers, Ananta Shaktaye, since you preside over their chitta, Vasudevaya. Therefore, you cause the actions of karma and jnana, Yoganam Pataye. Therefore, I offer respects to you, Krishna. With intense devotion, he says, Namaha twice. I constantly offer respects. So, all devotional expressions, but you see that it can be seen in different perspective and with different, that describe different levels. So, one possible understanding is just like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur described, which is more on the level of the relationship that is with the Lord when he offered this prayer. Then Srila Vivekananda Goswami says more on the breakdown of understanding Krishna from um, from the perspective of seeing Krishna as the source and the shelter for all beings. So it's more of understanding Krishna. One is and another one is understanding me in relationship with Krishna. Is that sort of clear? Yeah. And then, so you as the source and the shelter for all living beings, Krishna as a form of eternal bliss, form of bliss. And he as the one who gives the resolve of actions. And then the other one is how, as he goes on, how he will remain a devotee, inspired by Krishna, touched by Krishna. Because that's something that he expressed as he goes, that he will maintain this consciousness, even in the body of a demigod. Because with the body of a lizard or a body of a demigod, you can forget your relationship with Krishna. Like that. It can be a cover. The consciousness, perfect consciousness of Krishna, or pure devotional service, can be covered. So, but in the case of Maharaj Nriga, he will be able to continue with perfect understanding, and even in the body of a demigod, and now in a position in heavenly planets, he can be a perfect devotee just by maintaining this understanding and this consciousness. So then he also expresses this understanding of Krishna as the controller, or the supreme controller, that is by Krishna's will that he give the capacity of the living entities to even act, or being have received the capacity of the source of the power of the living entity to act and to do something. So that's also could be analyzed in the prayers. Here's a little more from Srila Jiva Goswami. You are the cause of all beings, from Brahma to plants. You are by your nature the greatest, Brahmane. In terms of powers, you have unlimited Shaktis like Maya Shakti and your Swarup Shakti. Thus you are Param Brahma in human form, Krishnaya, and you have appeared as the son of Vasudev as a birth pastime. Since you are the master of doing what is impossible, Yoganam Pataye, he offers repeated respects since what is the use of simply standing there without qualification? He desires service. So, um, Maharaj, um, Maharaj Nriga now is in perfect understanding and with now beginning or starting to go through the path of pure devotional service. So, having spoken thus, Maharaj Nriga Shingur ambulated Krishna touched his crown to the Lord's feet, granted permission to depart. King Nriga boarded a wonderful celestial airplane as all the people present looked on. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, comments, Krishna gave him permission to leave, instructing him by saying, quote, after enjoying, you will obtain me. So that after finishing his time in the celestial planets, he will go back home, back to Godhead. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments, he mounted the best vehicle given by the Lord. As people look on in astonishment, still he immediately departed. Quote, he should have delayed at that time. He was sent by the Lord. So, any comments or questions on this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna Guru Prabhu.
Thank you so much for the class and the discussion. There were a lot of different topics today's class. I was in reading the purport of 29th verse. It says that Krish means it's an attractive feature of Lord's existence, and Na means spiritual pleasure. And when we combine Krish with Na, it becomes absolute truth. So, so in fact, does it mean that to actually live in truth, to live to live in Krishna's way of life, what he wills for us to do is to experience spiritual pleasure? Is that what it means? Because they say Krishna is an attractive feature of Lord in which we experience spiritual pleasure. I was just trying to understand what's the link between absolute truth and the meaning of Krishna. It was mentioned in the purport.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, Krishna is Satyam Param Dimahi, Lord Srila Vyasadeva. Satyam Param, the absolute truth. Um, so he is the absolute truth, the one without a second. And so, but then um, the breakdown of Krishna's name like that, he defines it very, very wonderfully. Let me read here what how I think the acharyas break it down. Comes from a verse. Okay. The word Krish, is the attractive feature of the Lord's existence. And na means a spiritual pleasure. When the word Krish is added to na, it becomes Krishna, which indicates the absolute truth. So um, often we hear Srila Prabhupada describe Krishna means the all attractive Supreme Being, the all attractive. So everything that may be attractive, the highest conception of attractiveness, that is Krishna. And um, spiritual pleasure, I think, have to do, I mean, the way I understanding, have to do with the happiness that is there in the loving relationship there with Krishna. Um, when the definition of what is uh, param dharma, then susukam kartun avyayam. No, no, sorry. What is it? Um, Satyam param. Let's go. Sabai punsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaye. Ahaitu kyapatiyata yayatma suprasidati. This suprasidati of the Atma, the, 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 the happiness of the soul, or this pleasure is in that relationship, loving relationship with Krishna, that is unmotivated and uninterrupted. So Krishna is the ultimate um, um, shelter of that position. And he have so many hundreds of millions of Nainam Nama Kari Badurani Yashara Shaktis, like Krishna and Govinda. But you know, these are names of the Lord, but that refers to Krishna. But Krishna, in the name Krishna, all these attractive features are there. Govinda is he who gives pleasure to the cows and the senses, so that's very attractive, um, like that. But Krishna possesses is the ultimate. Is it compiles everything that is there, everything that it could be attractive, and within Krishna there's a shelter of this loving relationship. That's our understanding. Any thought on that from your side?
Well, when you were saying, I interpreted it as that. So to live in loving relationship with Krishna, that you said, is spiritual pleasure, and to live in truth, to live in reality would be to experience that relationship always.
Yes, yes.
To live in Maya, to live in unreality would be forgetful of that relationship. That's how I try to make connection.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite something. I mean, Krishna also says in the ninth chapter that this knowledge of bhakti is the king of all knowledge and the king of all secrets. Then one of the things he says is that it's so joyfully performed. So when we get into when we, any way that we come to be on the shelter of bhakti, then there is happiness that is very graphically experienced by anyone who comes in contact in any situation. And we see that. That's why we're still here, because we have received that parandrishta nivartante, that higher taste. Even a drop can completely change your life. What to speak of, you know, having that 24/7, that just your existence at all time. Yeah, my spiritual master, remember, told me that when I was describing just a moment that the first memory of a graphic experience that I have on having some awareness of this immense happiness. But it was just a moment, chanting in Manhattan with Indra and, as a very, very, very new bhakta. Uh, and, there was a moment that it was like everything went blank and I just felt happy. And then I realized that, and then poof, it went away back to consciousness. It was just a fraction. And I told my spiritual master, and he said, "Yes, Krishna has given you a drop of a taste of the happiness of the soul." It was a moment of experiencing the happiness of the soul. And then he said, "Imagine that 24/7. That's life in the spiritual world." Imagine that 24/7 that you're in that space of transcendental happiness. Any other comment? Krishna?
I was appreciating that you made that distinction in the statement of King Nerika that one part of it had to do with Krishna being the shelter for all living beings, and then the second part was focusing on that relationship with him. Because I had a little bit of a hard time seeing the connection in the transition in the purport, because the first part didn't connect with the second part, where there was a breakdown of what Krishna means. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's our acharyas. I think um, the different acharyas have this sort of um, some of these moods that are there. I mean, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is known for being a very rasika type of acharya, and in general, his comments goes too much into the relationship, breaking down like that, how the mind and the heart, is expressing. And Srila Jiva Goswami is very philosophical and, of course, analyzes everything very broadly, same with Srila Sanatana Goswami. So it's quite something to have that wealth that one can dive to, to understand these wonderful pastimes. We're very lucky. We're so fortunate to be part of this glorious disciplic succession and having access to their teachings, like that. So it's quite something. It's quite something. And, that's one of the wonderful aspects of coming together in a daily basis and hear Srimad Bhagavatam under the shelter of our disciplic succession. It's like, I mean, you can understand. I mean, who I am. I mean, it's like Kim Niga say, who I am. It's like, what can I do on my own? What qualification do I have to have this type of, fortune? Because usually we just not read. It's not just reading, but it's actually reading, holding the hand of these most elevated and glorious personalities. Right?
Yeah, I'm also appreciating the class too. Um, I was trying not to say anything because it may get kind of redundant. I always mention how for me it was a big discovery. Like it changed my whole life when I saw Prabhupada describe the word Krishna as the whole of existence, right? So, and I showed you the other day that poster of existence with the material energy, the Brahman effulgence, and then the spiritual world. So, from that day on, I never thought of Krishna as the same. I always think of Krishna as existence in the human form, and it just makes it so much easier for me because when I'm bewildered by the material energy, or if I want to, I mean, once you think of it and you look at that poster of the material energy, then you can just see like we have a chance to connect with existence, even though it's not impersonal. It has a personality. So it's for me that just sticks. I can't get out of um, that connection, which helps to understand for me like the diversity, like you were saying, so many different relationships, the diversity of devotees. I can't fathom it. So I just kind of like have to pray a lot, you know, like to try to respond and react in the proper ways to every situation. That's the kind of, I guess, what I pray for because I never know. Yeah. So thanks again for the class, which it instills it more and invokes the deeper thoughts.
Yeah, it's quite something because that's sort of similar sentiment that King Nriga is expressing because he sees himself, his position with Dasya. I'm a servant. And with the servant, you get this full understanding of Krishna's position as the source of everything. But he also comes to understand that through the unlimited potencies of the Lord, he have all these different, he's able to appreciate Krishna in relationship with devotees. And, the different shapes that these things, and including his own relationship with, so actually Krishna has a relationship with me. Although he is the source of all existence, you know, he also reciprocates with me, and I'm feeling something towards him, and I can see something towards myself, and then my devotion increases. That's why devotion is. Devotion means you have to have an object. There is an object and it's a subject, of devotion. Devotion have to do with love. I mean, if you if there's no love, then you can say devotion is more like being slave or being something up, type of thing. So there's these two elements, the ashraya and the vishaya, the object and the subject. And so that's the part. Like this pastime, we can actually recognize ourselves with it and see the possible arch that we also, will follow. We approaching Krishna, and as we approach Krishna, uh, we becoming more and more purified from these things, that are part of an obstacle. I mean, King Nriga have the body of a lizard, have a body of, this conditioned body that is conditioned by all these type of things and limited by all these type of things. May not be the body of a lizard, but it may be the body of a man lizard, something like that. So we're becoming purified, and all our now most of us have this mixed devotional service. But nevertheless, we are approaching Krishna, and Krishna is purifying us from this mixed devotional service. In this case, we see how the transformation even happens within um, the very audience, with him from praying in this mood to now praying in a different mood, just in a matter of few verses. So it's quite wonderful. I stop here. Thank you so much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.